First of all, before we get started, my audio might sound bad, and if it does, it's because of my stupid computer. He's being a dumb little boy, and so if it sounds weird, it might not, but if it does, that's why. So you can't get mad at me for this. Metroid Prime 4, now in development since 2017. Still in development, or at least it better be. Metroid Prime 4 is the Switch game I'm probably most excited about, and it was announced a long time ago, so that makes it a little bit annoying. And yes, I know it's had development issues and they had to switch development over to Retro Studios, and more than likely it was started from basically the beginning. But still, the announcement for that decision was almost 2.5 years ago now, and the actual switcheroo could have happened a little bit before that. So even though it's probably a ways from being ready, it's not necessarily a ways from being shown. So, with E3 coming up and Metroid's development time getting to be kind of a while now, will we end up seeing the game soon? Hello all 3,450 of you, I'm Redkwan, and will we see more Metroid Prime 4 soon? So why might this be a thing that might happen? Maybe. Well, like I said earlier, if you were paying attention, Retro Studios have been working on the game for about 2.5 years now. Even if you think they had to start completely from scratch, and that the development switch happened pretty much the same time as the announcement for that switch, that's still a decently long time to make the core game. I wouldn't expect them to be almost done by now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were close enough that it would make sense to show it. No, Redkwan, it takes a long time to make games. You would think that, but let me contradict you with hard data. The first Metroid Prime game came out in 2002, and the second came out just 2 years later in 2004. But those were both on the GameCube, so it was a lot easier. Then why did Metroid Prime 3, the third one, on the Wii, with motion controls, the new thing, come out just 3 years later in 2007? Riddle me that one. And Retro Studios kept on trucking in another 3 years. Donkey Kong Country returns, and they made the Metroid Prime trilogy in between even. And even after helping with Mario Kart 7 and moving Donkey Kong Country Tropical Returns to the 3DS, they were still able to get Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze Returns to the Switch after just 3 years. So basically, Retro Studios can crank them out. And also, they basically haven't made anything since 2014, so they're probably pretty bored, so they might as well finish it. I don't know what else they're doing. I've heard that maybe Retro Studios is a little bit different now than it was back in the day, and on new and more powerful hardware, development will take a little longer. But Metroid generally isn't as big or expansive as something like Zelda, and given Retro Studios' track record, and the fact that development could have started a little earlier than we think, and with some preliminary stuff to start with from the previous development, I think it could definitely be farther along than we think. We're coming up on E3 now, which would be a great time to show something like this. It's in theory the biggest Nintendo event of the year, and Nintendo knows that it would be a great way to get people excited, and they don't even have to show that much. They could just do like a 30-second teaser with a logo or something, Something small. That would make everyone happy. And even if the development is actually still pretty early on, it makes sense to give Metroid fans something at least. They've been waiting for a new Metroid Prime game for almost 15 years, and this game was announced about 4 years ago, with no information or visuals. It'd be cool to give us something at least. But at the same time, it might not happen. Retro is super cool and everything, but they haven't released a newly developed game in over 7 years. And it could just be that they're working away slowly. I don't know what that sentence means. I wrote it like a week ago and it doesn't make sense anymore. But because they haven't released something in so long, it's pretty likely that they were 1, working on something else, which they could still be doing a little bit of work on, which would slow things down, and or 2, just not as big of a team as they used to be, which would also slow things down. Nintendo didn't give Metroid Prime to Retro Studios right away, and it's pretty likely that that was for a decent reason. Maybe it was just that they were doing other things, and now they've thrown those things aside completely to work on Metroid Prime 4, but that seems like quite a waste. Either they would just be literally throwing away their last 7 years of work, or they would be completely stepping away from their projects for like 4 years, and then trying to come back to them, which in development land is essentially like throwing them away anyway. If you put something to the side for that long, coming back to it probably isn't going to go so well. The fact that Retro Studios only released Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze Deluxe in that time also makes you wonder what they could have been doing anyway. A deluxe version of a game can take a bit of time, but not nearly what a new game would take, and I know Funky Mode's pretty game-changing, no one's denying this, but still, it shouldn't take that long. That they haven't released or even unveiled a new game in the time from the release of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze in early 2014 until 2019 is potentially concerning. Maybe they really are just working much slower these days, or maybe there were some development issues with whatever they were making too, which gives me less confidence in their ability to fly through the development this go-round. And especially after such a long break, and on the new hardware, it seems like Metroid Prime 4 could be way bigger than past games in the series. All of this adds up to a game that very easily could still be a ways from completion, even to this very day, right this very moment. And if that's the case, maybe they won't show it. Nintendo has also just been pickier about when they unveil things. They usually wait fairly close until the launch of a game before they really talk about things in full, at least in the past few years. And given that they already did the preliminary announcement, maybe they won't show us anything until a couple months before they're ready to release it. It wouldn't be the first time. So, will we see Metroid Prime 4 soon? It's a good question. Very tough. Well, I still think that in general, a Metroid game could be produced faster than most people expect, but given the whole situation with Retro Studios, which makes it seem like they're not cooking like they were in the early days, and Nintendo's weird announcement system, we could also still be a ways off. But if I had to guess, I'd say that based on the importance of the project, and the amount of time that fans have been waiting for it now since the incredibly unspecific trailer we got, there's a pretty good chance we finally see something soon here. Don't get your hopes up now, I'm still very unconfident, but it's a distinct possibility, I think. Potentially. Well, I'm Redkwan. Do you think we'll see Metroid Prime 4 soon? Do you think we could get it at E3? How can a possibility be distinct? Like, what does that even mean? It's a possibility that's noticeably different from other possibilities? 'Cause that's stupid. Anyways, I'm Redkwan, thank you all for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all later. Goodbye.